What's up, everyone? Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, or whenever you're watching this. This is another episode of the T1P podcast. I'm very excited today to be joined by Dr. Sohn Butts, who is the principal and founder and creator of Beyond the Margins podcast. An educator with a lot of experience. We're going to dive right into it. My fault. I'm sorry. I'm Tyrone Richardson. If you don't know, I am your host. We're going to get right into it with Sohn, man. Sohn. So good to meet you, brother. This is our first time really having a conversation. How you doing today?
Hey, brother, I'm doing excellent. Thank you, Tyrone, for bringing me on, having me on Teach One. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Okay, well, let's jump right into it. We always start with our guests with their upbringing, with education. You're out of Pennsylvania right now, but where were you born? Where'd you go to school?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked. I do live in Pennsylvania now, but I'm heart and heart a Virginia boy.
Okay.
From what you call the 757 VA.
Okay.
And so I grew up in a household. My mom's an educator, and my father's a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
He
Wow.
and his brothers, yeah. He had everything from canteen trucks, ice cream trucks, trash
Yep.
trucks, and
Yep.
ultimately he had a landscaping business for years. And so I watched him develop and build things and systems. Very creative man, very smart man. And like I said, my mom was an educator. She was a middle school science teacher for years, then a school guidance counselor, assistant principal, principal, and she went back after retirement, retired 2 times from education. So
Yeah, because
I
it's
kind of
addictive.
called him Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that is dope, man. I like the way you say what your father was again, a serial entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur, yeah.
Man,
Serial entrepreneur.
sounds like he had it down, like he was hustling, but legally, right? Like just
Yeah.
knocking it out the box. Love it.
Yeah, and
Love it.
like, he also had a 9 to 5 job. He
Of course.
worked in a concrete factory, and at the same time, he always had something else. And that taught me something early that, you sometimes you do more than one thing, or you have the capacity to do more than one thing. And that's something that's followed me throughout my professional career and my adulthood.
Of course, because as you know, you and I both have 9 to 5s and we both still doing other things and keeping it moving. So yeah, I love that. I love it. So where'd you go to school?
So I grew up in, Chesapeake, Virginia, neighboring cities to Virginia Beach and Norfolk. And
Okay.
so I went to, neighborhood elementary school where, everybody in our community went, 98, 99% Black community.
Wow.
Well, that community matriculates into a middle school, high school system, a larger
Okay.
system,
Yep.
where it's about, 50-50 Black and white in Southern Virginia. And
Okay.
so I grew up in that culture where, I had a lot of Black influences from home, community, church, family. And then I was also exposed to broader communities and some of the interworkings of how race and equity and socioeconomic status clashed. So I saw all those things as I got into middle school and high school.
So let's start with elementary. Let's start with elementary for a second. When you were in
Sure.
elementary school, do you have a favorite teacher, or were your teachers of color? Like what was it like in elementary?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks, Tyrone. So in elementary school, most of my teachers were Black.
Okay.
Again, I
Wow.
lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood. Most of
Yep.
my teachers were Black. And although I had impactful teachers, the teachers I remember most in elementary school might not be for the most positive things.
Mm,
Right?
I
I
get
know a
it.
lot of people tell stories about elementary, and they had like a favorite teacher who they love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had cool teachers, but the ones that really stick out were the ones who were either not so great teachers or maybe questionable people.
Understandable. You got an example of that? Or we don't want to get too deep into that right now?
But no, I think it's appropriate to talk about.
Okay.
So I remember one year, I guess it was maybe 4th or 5th grade. It was the beginning of the school year. And this happened to be one of the few teachers who were not Black in our building.
Yep.
And it was the beginning of the class, first day or so, we get our math books. And she tells us to go home and do what I thought she said was pages like 1 through 18.
Okay.
What she really said was do problems 1 through 18.
Got it.
And so when I came back with a poor attempt to finish 18 pages, maybe
I'm
I did
telling you.
9 pages, right? Maybe I did
Yep.
10 pages. I don't remember how much. I don't think I did the whole 18, but I tried to do all of it. Um, she ridiculed me for
Mm.
not listening and not paying attention.
In front of
And I,
everybody?
yeah, in front of everybody,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front of everybody, right? And I remember the night before trying to meet her expectation, only to be rebuffed in front of my peers. So that
yeah.
stuck with me.
Mhm.
Um, Another occasion, my teacher's ashtray fell on me. I guess she was stashing cigarettes in the
So take
building.
a ash with the ashtray in
Yeah, yeah,
elementary
yeah.
school?
And I went to move a poster and it just kind of fell all over me.
Yeah.
So in elementary, those are two of the things that kind of really stick out about my teachers.
You probably could smoke outside back then, just not in the building, right?
Yeah,
I'm wondering about that. They might have been able
I'm
to have
pretty
smoke
sure
breaks,
it was the
but
mid '80s, right? So it was right
yeah,
when you could still smoke just about most places. But
yeah,
how do you get ashes off a little kid, a little
right.
chocolate kid at that, right? Covered in ashes from like all over his head.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
All right, so let's move into middle school, right?
yeah,
So middle school, I know we got adolescence, we got certain things going on. Do you remember anything in particular in middle school? And what was your favorite
yeah.
subject?
Okay, so my favorite subject around that time would probably have been history. I was really interested in the past. I was really interested into the connection to our African past, and just history in general. I love studying like about World War I and World War II, and it was like fascinating. My mom's a historian too, so she kind of probably paved that way for me. What I will also say is that the middle school I went to, or what we call junior high school, now it's called middle school. The junior high school I went to is the same junior high my mom taught at for the years she
Oh,
taught.
okay.
So when I get to junior high, I know everybody in the building. I'm like
Yep.
little Sean. They watched me grow up.
Yep.
I came to all the functions, and she only left a few years before I got there.
Okay, so she wasn't there at that time, but they still
No,
knew
no,
you.
no.
Yep. Yep.
Thank God she wasn't there at the same time. But what may be worse is when you have like five aunties,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was my
Hanging out there
reality.
too, still there, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my reality. Um, but the main thing I remember about my time in middle school was how I started to be able to recognize, hold on, something's not right.
Okay.
Something's amiss, something's afoot. First of all, it was in history because I like history. I'm like, why
Yep.
are these so many gaps? Like, I know there's so many other things that we're not talking about.
Mm-hmm.
One thing my parents did early was bought a set of encyclopedias.
I had it. I had one. We had the
All
big
right.
long. Yep.
Big long
Yep.
set, right?
Yep.
A
Big
through
long set.
Z. Right,
Yep.
right, right. And it came in a box with like several boxes, right? So
Right. Yep.
my father, he said, look, if you read every day for 5 minutes out of the encyclopedias, I'll give you $5 at the end of the week. So I
Okay.
was incentivized to read and study. So I knew there was so much more that and then I started asking questions.
Okay.
And this
Okay.
was in middle school, right?
Yeah.
Started asking questions and not really being satisfied with the answer. And that's the first time I felt the
Mm.
sting of, education not being a complete measure for all students.
Okay. Okay. I got you. And then we when you questioned certain things, were you shut down or were you inspired to like, wow, thanks for bringing that up. Let's look into that more. Or was it like, nah, we're not answering that. You're a troublemaker or you talk too much or that kind of deal?
Yeah, I felt more of the latter.
Okay.
I don't think at middle school, we'll talk about high school a little bit later, but at middle school, I don't think I pressed that hard. I think I just had the question. I
Yep.
think the questions were either deflected or marginally answered or response to. I don't remember necessarily feeling rebuffed, but now I have questions more
Yeah.
so than any push away. Just, I don't know. I just feel like there was more. Or where's the connection? And so I remember feeling in that middle school, like, man, I don't know. Elementary school, I didn't question anything. It was,
Yep, yep. But
did
no,
assignment.
adolescence is naturally questioning things. It's in the DNA, right? It's in the makeup as an adolescent
Yeah.
to be like, no, I want to question that no matter what it is. It's not such a big deal. Or why are we doing that? Why we got to do that? You know what I mean? So I get it. I was a middle school principal and I had it all the time. I knew that. Plus, we middle school kids, right? So we question stuff all the time. And so I want to ask about your friends or your circle at that time. growing up
Yeah,
in middle school because again, it's
yeah.
a hard time. You can go left and right with skipping, you can get into smoking, you can get into gangs and hanging out. What was your area like?
Yeah, so it was opportunities for all of that.
Yep.
But you remember, I got 5
I
aunties
know.
at the
I know what
school.
you got.
My
I'm
mama was an
fucking
educator.
Yep.
I'll tell everybody, I never skipped school. I skipped school one day in
Yep.
my whole career, and I told my father that, "Hey, it's senior skip day, I'm skipping
Okay.
school."
Senior, you
So,
waited to senior to skip school.
yeah, I
We
never
got
skipped
you.
a day of school,
Yep.
honest to
Yep.
God. But here's one thing before I get to, like, the friends and the peer influences,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
the biggest influence of that time was the music. It
Okay.
it's the late '80s, it's the early '90s. I mean, hip hop is everywhere, and the messaging in hip hop told us that there's more that we should be asking about our realities. And so
That's right.
I'm carrying that energy with me. I have a middle school picture. I wish I'd have had it for you of me like a African medallion and a
Yeah, I
gummy
remember all
smoke.
of it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, middle school
Yeah.
looking like in a military code. But
X-Clan. Yeah.
X-Clan,
Yeah.
exactly. Poor righteous teachers, right? People were,
Yeah.
KRS-One, they're telling us to ask questions
Of
and think
course.
about and at our minds being programmed in the hip hop generation,
Yep.
we heard it and we knew what to do with it. I
Yeah.
remember Public Enemy. I remember like,
Listen.
and we were going to school listening to it in our Walkman.
Yes.
Bob Marley was
Self-destruction.
introduced to me. And
Yeah.
okay, we'll get to Bob Marley when we get to high school, but like these things open new doors of understanding and the reality of our world. Now, around peer influences, again, I grew up in a working class, I guess middle class black community. Uh, most people had parents who went to work.
Okay.
So most of my friends kind of grew up like me. Most of us were on a trajectory where if we wanted to go to college, we could find a way. There were lots of fun
Of
ways,
course.
in the '90s to get to college if
Okay.
that was your pathway. But there were some brothers who did the other thing too. They hit the
Yeah.
corners.
Yeah.
They were pitching weed and they graduated from weed as they went up the drug line. So um, we lost a lot of friends. A lot of
Yeah.
people got locked up in that period. It was the '90s where, they called us super predators just
Right.
for being
Right.
black adolescents.
Mm-hmm.
So had a lot of friends who got caught up in that early and never really recovered.
No.
And I'm
Same
as
here.
sure you're around my
Yeah.
age. I know you have stories to tell as well.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, hard times, man. But I love how you touched on music because music is really, really big in my life right now, has always been, right? Help shaped us who we are and what we do. And we really don't have any balance like that that's I want to say that's mainstream, right? We don't have a mainstream balance like we had back then. If you turned on BET or MTV, you could see self-destruction video or fight the power video, and then they'll turn around and play something else, right? They turn around and play Tribe Called Quest or turn around and play NWA or something like that,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then
Well, balance.
yeah, it was a great balance for you to have, and now I feel that kids don't have a mainstream balance of music. They gotta pull and search and dig in the lyrics of a Kendrick Lamar or a J. Cole. They gotta dig for those lyrics for someone to pull out something that's meaningful or that's educational. We just don't have it anymore. But I love that period, man. That period. Nostalgia, right? Like just
We were living in a golden era, and I think we recognized it, but like we lived in a period where every week we would get a new message by way of a new album or
yep,
two.
yep,
And like you're right, this new generation, I think they are negatively impacted by not only that, but and I'm not a luddite at any by any measures. I love technology, but I think the interfacing of screens and the lack of like that alternative messaging is what is really one of the big hurdles that our young people are facing today.
yeah, I got you on that. So let's move into high school.
Yeah.
So high school's a whole other fastest 4 years of your life.
Oh
That's
my
what I
good
tell my
oh
students
my
all the time. High
goodness.
school is fastest 4 years of your life, but impact, right? So what were you like in high school? Who touched you in high school to want to become an educator? Did you play any sports, join any clubs? What was high
Yeah.
school like?
Yeah, high school for me was cool. I like to think of myself, in high school's known for cliques. I like to think of myself as an independent rover because
Okay.
I played football, right? I
Yep.
played football, and, so I had my teammates and, guys who played football. I also played an instrument, so I knew people in the band. I played saxophone. So in middle school, I played violin. and I was pretty good, right? I was
Yes.
I was I was first chair all city. Maybe it was like 6 or 7
I
first
think
chair.
that's pretty good. We'll call that pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. But I did not want to take a violin to high school. And
What
I
was
know
it, peer pressure? Was it like,
it wasn't peer pressure more than, the identity I wanted to carry into high school. No one
okay.
told me like you don't play a
Right, right,
violin
right,
in high
right.
school. It's just I didn't think it was cool enough. So I begged my parents to switch to the saxophone. And they let me
Yeah.
switch to the saxophone, and I didn't really like it, but now I'm
Okay.
like stuck with it. So I play saxophone. So I was in the band.
Yep.
I did. I'm not a runner by any stretch, but I did run track.
Okay.
There was a lot of girls on the track team. So,
Yes, sir.
but mostly I felt like I was an independent who could move between groups and crowds. I don't feel like I never really consider myself belonging to a particular group.
So you
Um,
wasn't with the jocks all the time or the band, band club or people, just independent rover. Got it.
Yeah, I was an independent rover. I high five everybody. I could move between circles. Kids I grew up in my community, we was
Yep.
good.
Yep.
People from the other community, I was good with them too.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how high school was for me. But then my junior year, I decided not to play football. We had a really good high school team. Anybody knows anything about the D Creek Hornets? They're a
Okay.
really good team. We
Okay.
put in a lot of guys to the league.
Yep.
Even my older brother went to the league ultimately from D Creek High School.
Wow.
And so I was looking around like, man, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna get on the field. So, I could do some other things with my time. And so
Yep.
that's what I did. And so my junior year, I set out and it was probably my worst year in high school, my junior year. Not because
Worse.
I
Okay.
left football, because there was
Yep.
so many other things going on. And ultimately, I decided to transfer high schools to a private school.
Okay.
So midway my junior year, I transferred to a private school. It's a Christian school about 30 minutes from my house in Virginia Beach. And one of the reasons I transferred was because they were starting a new football organization. They didn't have football before. And I was like,
Okay.
wow, I can probably get out there and play.
I could
You know
play.
what I
I can
mean?
get on the
Yeah, I
field
can
over
go out there and
there.
probably play. You know what I mean? I can
Yep.
get on the field and it'd be worth my time and energy. And so that's what I did. I transferred to this private Christian school. It was a very small Christian school, where I was the first Black male to graduate from.
Okay.
So I don't think I realized that when I signed up to go. I
Yep.
knew it was a predominantly white school. And I had some Black friends who were there, but they were a year behind me.
Mm.
And so when I get there, I'm like, oh wow, it was like me and one other Black girl in my senior class, and she left halfway through senior year. She
Okay.
just out. And so I spent my senior year there at Atlanta Shores Christian School. It was a great experience. I had a good time, met
Okay.
lots of good people, learned a lot about myself. Um, and so that was high school. 3 years with my neighborhood high school, and then
Yep.
1 year in private Christian school.
1 year over there, private Christian school. Do you have any teachers and that high school experience that popped out to you that, you was like, wow, this is a special teacher making me love this class or whatever it was?
Yeah. So a couple of people come to mind right away. So first of all, Mr. Owens. So my first job, what I wanted to be out of high school was an architect. I thought I would be an architect, a traditional architect, because I found out later that I am an architect. I just don't design buildings.
Got you.
But I
Got you.
thought I'd be designing buildings. And
Yep.
so I was taking the engineering and architectural drafting classes in high school. That was my path, my high school path. And our drawing teacher, our technical drawing teacher was named Mr. Owens.
Okay.
Mr. Owens was just a classic, no nonsense, good teacher who cared about his what he was teaching and the people he was teaching.
Yep.
And
Love it.
we all and it was a lot of what else I can remember about that class. It was like it was camaraderie. We helped each
Yep.
other,
Yep.
right? It was
Yep.
never competitive. We were all in support of everybody improving around the skill set.
Okay.
And he was the ringleader of that exercise.
That's good stuff right there. And
Yeah.
what nationality was he, if you don't mind me asking?
No, no, he was a black man. He was a
Yeah.
black man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a black man, very, very approachable man, very down to earth man. Again, my high school was 50-50 black white. And so I know my white classmates were as comfortable with him as we
Of
were as
course.
black students. So he was just a solid guy.
I
Uh,
just wonder because as I talk to different people, about their past in education and what helped shape them from elementary on top. I come from an area where in my early elementary days in the north end of Hartford, Connecticut, I had a lot of Black female teachers, right? Black female teachers. I had a male principal who was Black, and we were in the north end. And then I kind of moved to the south end, which was more uh, white, Italian, and Hispanic. And when I went to high school is where I saw a mixture of people. But I think by the time I got to high school is where I saw my first real Black teacher, right? And I saw a Black teacher, but I didn't have a Black teacher as a male. And so I just wonder about that stuff. And then as I grew up into the ranks of becoming a teacher myself, I was a lot of students' first Black teacher teaching in elementary. And my students hit me up now and talk to me and stuff like that. So it's just, seeing men of color as males and how, students appreciate that or how they connect with them. And I'm not saying every male teacher of color is impactful or is
Right,
great or
of
is
course,
good, because I've hired some that are pretty bad,
of
honestly,
course.
and
Yeah.
teaching should not be their path. But it's just amazing. So I always like to have that conversation to see, how people's trajectory came when it comes to men of color.
Yeah, that to your point, I'm gonna tell a little bit of my mom's story. She said that she did not have a white teacher. She did not have a white teacher until graduate school.
See, this is the
But
South
she grew up
too.
in a
Y'all,
segregated South. She went to
yeah.
HBCU. And so,
Hmm.
like, in elementary school, most of my teachers were Black.
Yeah.
In middle school, high school, it became like 50-50. Right? It was about it matched the student population. I think my city did a great job in making sure that the teaching staff resembled the community, right? It was about 50-50. But I've noticed in my teaching experience, um, I've worked with many more Black male educators than I saw when I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But what I love about your experience and that I got a little bit of in the North End was that the job of that teacher, that teacher of color that was teaching those young kids predominantly, I mean, it was no nonsense. It was like we gonna do this in music class, we're gonna sing, we're gonna learn these songs, we're gonna celebrate this, you're gonna know about Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and everybody else you need to know about. And we're going to build up your knowledge base as a young Black African American youngster coming up. You're going to know yourself and you're going to be proud of yourself. Like, I know you got all that and then
Yeah.
some.
There were no cultural barriers to maneuver.
Right.
So I see a lot of times, and I had to maneuver them later on in my
Of
schooling
course.
career. There were no
Yeah.
cultural barriers to remove. We could get straight to the teaching and learning and building relationship. So I think that's the key factor. It's
Yeah.
just they're I mean, not that Black people are a monolith. I'm not even saying that. I'm
Of
saying
course.
that there are some cultural underpinnings that don't need to be explained anymore or can be excused through common culture.
Yeah.
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 I do want to highlight another educator I had in high school, Coach
Okay.
Carl Stone. His
Okay.
last name, Coach Stone. And Coach Stone was a white teacher. He's a white coach. And so he might have had the biggest impact on me in a single day than any
Wow.
educator in my life.
Okay. How was that? What happened?
So I'm a middle school football, excuse me, a JV football player in the 10th
Yep.
grade.
Yep.
And I think this conversation led into my decision not to play football my junior year.
Okay.
So I'm in class. He was also my PE teacher that year. He's the
Hmm.
head coach for our JV football team, and he's my gym teacher. And so, a little backstory, my brother was a stud athlete, right? Even my sister was a beast athlete, and they're older than me. And
Okay.
I wasn't a stud athlete, right?
Right.
I was on the
Right.
team, right? I got a jersey, right? And so, yeah, Coach Stone knows, my athletic acumen. And one day I'm in class and I'm kind of goofing off. It was like a free day kind of thing. And I was
Hmm.
goofing off and I don't even remember what I was doing. But he called me. He said, Butts. I said, yeah, coach. He said, come in. He pulled me close. He said, sit down. He said, you don't got to act like them.
Mm.
You're not like them. You're different. You're going places. You're going to be something. He said, and he joked with me. He said, it might not be football. I said,
Yeah,
nah.
yeah,
He said, but don't lower yourself. That made a difference to me because he could have like blew me off as, third string defensive end, but he didn't. He pulled me to the side and so he spoke into me. He told me what he saw in me. And that meant so much to me. And so I always remember that day.
yeah. That
I
stuck
don't
with you.
remember a lot of days in high school, but I remember
Yeah,
that day. He said,
but you
Butts, he
remember that
called me,
day.
Butts, come here. Sit down right here. And he look, he pulled his chair in close to me. He said, you don't gotta act like that. You don't gotta do that.
Hmm.
And
You
so
going
just
places?
those small things, and that's something I've taken with me throughout my career. Just drop a nugget in a kid ear. You don't know
Yeah,
what's in it.
coaching coaches are it's just a it's such it could be such a rewarding position if you do it right. I've seen some coaches that just, kill kids' spirit, right? And that kind of thing. But I've seen some coaches drop some good stuff. You reminded me of what you said with him, with the coach that we had. I played football as well. And I had a coach, Dave Hodge. Dave Hodge was a white guy too, man. He drove a little beat up. I want to say it was a little Datsun or something. He would get us all in and bring us over the summer and work out in the weight room and stuff like that, man. But he was that kind of guy that was not just about prepping and winning and getting us prepared for football. And he was a head JV coach too at a time, but he was about that life and helping us out and really caring about folks. So shout out to Dave Hodge and thank you for reminding me of that minute. So now high school, you are getting ready to go to school, right? Beyond high school, graduating. What'd you get into next? What school did you go to after that?
Yeah. So I went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. Um,
Just that name. So I went to Virginia State for a hot second,
okay,
and we
you went to
was
Little State. All right. Big
we
State.
went with V State for a minute.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at black colleges coming off of high school. We went on a tour down there. I wanted to
Yeah.
get into Norfolk. Norfolk wouldn't have me at that time, but V State did. But just the when you said Lynchburg, it just brought back memories of us being like from up north, just being like, wow, down here. But I'm sorry, go ahead. Liberty University.
You said it. So, I got accepted to Grambling and I was on my
Okay.
way to the Bayou.
Yep.
And you know what? I let somebody, I ain't gonna say somebody, I'm gonna snitch on him. I let my older brother talk me out of it. He said,
Talk
man,
you
ain't
out
nothing
of it.
down there but Grambling. Says nothing down there but Grambling. It's so
Yep.
far, you're not gonna come home. But once I was like, you know what? Maybe I ain't ready for the Louisiana countryside. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, I made the decision and I went to Liberty University. Now, what I will say about Liberty is this: it's in Lynchburg, Virginia. There's surrounding cities called Bedford and Forest. You can do the science and do your research in Bedford Forest on your own time.
Yep.
Um, but the university is the ultra right Christian college founded by evangelical
Hmm.
pastor Jerry Falwell in the
Okay.
1970s as a
Yep.
part of the moral majority movement, right? And this is the political religious movement of the Reagan era, pretty much, and those that came before.
Okay.
And so it's a very conservative Christian college. And the reason I went is pure and simple. They gave me the most money. In the
Okay.
90s, they were actively recruiting, minority students to the university. And a lot of people that I know, and a lot of black people from New York and New Jersey and Florida, uh, and all over the country, really came to Liberty during those years.
Okay.
And it was a good experience, but it was a
Okay.
very different experience too.
I can imagine because and I understand because I'm imagining at that time, the whole like when I went to college, a different world was out, right? The
Mhm.
whole black college
Yeah,
experience, the whole
yeah,
but you were already in Virginia down in that area and you still chose Liberty. And like you
yeah,
said, most money, you got to pay for school.
yeah.
So this is
So
what you
you know
got.
what? One thing I'll add, and I didn't kind of weave this through my story.
Yep.
Like the black college experience was a part of my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were
yeah,
there.
like yeah, I grew up around Norfolk State University. My
Yep.
brother was actually there. I went to the parades my whole life. I was on the campus, so I kind of saw the black experience, the black college experience. And so, although I thought I wanted the HBCU experience coming out of college, when they started talking that money, and
Hmm.
like my parents, I'm the youngest. of my
Mhm.
siblings, and it was kind of like, you know,
We running out of money.
yeah, yeah, like help a bro. Like, so I could have very easily gone. And part of my story is, you know, we'll get to Norfolk State, but when I graduated high school in 1995, the one thing I did not want to do is drive across town and go to Norfolk State.
Okay.
I just that to me like a lot like
Yeah,
I
I
that
gotta
would be
get
like
away.
going out. We call it that'd be like high school 13th year.
Right,
Like I
right.
knew too
Yeah.
many people that was
Everybody
going to
was
drive
there.
across
It's the
town.
same thing. Yep, yep.
Yeah, so this became the compromise between Grambling and Norfolk State,
Makes
right?
sense. Makes
Go
sense.
to Virginia is a little bit out of the way. Um, I'll get a campus experience out of town, but I could stay in VA. And so I went, and it was different. For instance, we had to wear a tie in any academic building Monday through Thursday up until 4 o'clock. If you
Wow.
wanted to go check on your financial aid
Yep.
and you want to do it Tuesday at 1 o'clock, you cannot go into the academic building without a towel. You
Mm,
cannot go in the cafeteria during the academic day without a towel. It was a very conservative place.
okay.
It was a place where we learned how to have fun, create fun, make fun, um, and you know, a lot of other lessons as well. Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you major in?
So when I first went to college, I was a biology major. I was going to be a biology teacher like my mom. You know, I said I love history, but I also love science. I also love science. So I thought, you know, I could be a good biology teacher. I'd taken some summer classes in high school where I took like the advanced um, dissection course where we got to dissect like a sheep heart and a sheep eye. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm going to teach biology. So when I first go to college, I'm majoring in biology. That changed quickly to education. It
Okay.
changed quickly to education.
And you finished, did you do all 4 years at Liberty?
No, I did 1 year.
You did 1 year.
Hold on. No, hold on. Not 1 year. I did 1 year. At the end of that year, they put me on academic probation.
Oh, you
I
was
put
over there
myself hold
wilding.
on,
You okay,
yeah,
you
let me be accountable, let me be accountable. I put myself on academic probation after the
Yep,
first year.
yep,
So the second year, I begged my parents to let me take my car back, live off campus, I'll be a better student. They was
yep.
like, "No, that
Okay.
doesn't make sense. And that doesn't make sense." I'm like, "No, I promise I got a plan. The reason I can't be a great student is because I live on campus." And so I went there, I crashed out. They they said, "Thank you, but you know, your
Yeah,
grades."
you
My parents
gotta
said, "You
go.
know what? We're not sponsoring this mission anymore.
Okay.
If you're gonna be flunking classes and skipping class, you can do that anywhere in Hampton Roads. So
Right.
come on back home."
Okay.
And so I did. I came home, and I came home, and I tell everybody this. I came home with a ruined credit report.
Yep. They
I
get
came
you up
home.
there. They get you to sign all that stuff while
Oh,
you up there,
I
entice
burnt.
you into man.
I got that Discover card, and I burnt it up in I don't know before spring break. It was gone. Came back with a credit report, a criminal record, and a
Wow.
child on the way.
Wow. Oh yeah, you was down there causing some
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
And so
That's
I
life
came
changing now. That's life
all of it,
changing. All of it.
all of it,
Yep.
all of it. And so when I say I learned a lot of lessons, I learned a lot of lessons the hard way. I made a lot of mistakes. Nothing to do with Lynchburg, nothing to do with Liberty. Just a young man doing dumb things, right? And so I came back home, and for a while I just work. I just work. And eventually I said, you know what? I don't want to do this either. I don't want to work 50, 60 hours a day. I had my new daughter. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm gonna go back to school.
Okay.
And so I go back to Norfolk State.
Yep.
Um, and that is the beginning of the story, really.
Got
Yeah.
you. Got you.
Yeah.
So it's funny how those things can hit you and change your life and impact you in a different way, to get you set on the right path, so to
Yeah.
speak. So Norfolk, did you get you knocked that out, got your degree there?
Yeah. So I go to Norfolk State. I changed my major. When I started Norfolk State, I'm still an education major.
Yep.
But one day, I see a posting to audition for the radio. And I
Mm,
said, "Whoa, that's me right there." And
okay.
so I get in line, I take the whole flyer. You just had a pull tab, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Snatch
didn't
it
take the
off because
pull tab.
nobody getting
Yeah,
it.
you gotta take the whole thing because nobody else can come behind me.
Yep.
And I go get in the line, and I'm the last person in the line. And long story short, I get the highest score in the audition.
Nice.
Um, they kind of fast tracked me to the radio, and I changed my major to mass communications and journalism.
Mm,
Um, I'm a born creator, that could play right into my wheelhouse. I mastered television production, I mastered editing, I mastered writing, storyboarding, journalism, audio production. I really jumped in with both feet, mastered it all, graduated, and right before graduation, my professor said, "Hey, would you be interested in being a TA? I don't know if you want to get a master's degree or not, but if you be a TA, you can get your master's, we can kick some money in as a
yeah.
stipend to do that." I said, "Oh, I don't really have no plan on what I'm doing next other than look for a job, but you're offering me a job and a chance to double up." So I go back right away. I graduate in May. I start my summer program and my master's program in June, summer. Finish my master's in 18 months, get a master's degree in media management. And at the end, my professor says, "Hey, Butts, you want to be an adjunct and come back and teach? You know everything in production. You've been doing it here for 5 years. You mastered it all. You help everybody. Why
Yep.
don't you just come back and teach television production for us?"
Nice.
Yeah. And now
Okay.
that you have your master's, you can come and do it.
Yep.
So my first teaching job was an adjunct professor at my alma mater, Norfolk State University, in my home department of mass communication and journalism, teaching television production.
That's sweet. That's sweet. And you're in your 20s,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I'm in my
That's
20s.
sweet. That's
Yep,
sweet.
yep, and,
Yeah.
it was it was it was perfect timing. It taught me something about education and teaching. Now remember, I'm a career educator, but all of my degrees were in communication. That was my first teaching experience, and so now I'm on a quest, and I was already thinking about a doctoral program,
Okay.
so I applied to Howard University for a doctorate in intercultural communication.
Intercultural communications. Because this
Yeah,
one thing you said that was a little bit different that we gotta touch on at some point is being heavy on content is one thing, right? Like I know this stuff, I can do this stuff, but teaching it to other people, teaching it to students is a whole nother craft that sometimes I know secondary teachers take for granted, right? They take
yeah.
for granted that just because I know something well doesn't mean I can teach it well or I could reach everybody in that class. But go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry about your
No,
doctorate.
no, that's a great point because, further down my story a little bit, I had to learn pedagogy. I
Of
I
course.
I knew
Right.
the craft of production, but that did not help me teach it when I get, down the road to high school kids teaching media production, how
Hmm.
to instruct them around it. It was a little different with my college students
Yeah.
because it was
You're paying
more
money.
like a yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a
They're paying.
field lab, right?
Right.
Right? It's demonstrative. I do, you do, we do. Let me see
Yeah.
your technique. Let me tie you
Hmm.
up on your technique. But that's not the same method that you're using when you're practicing pedagogy with children. And I had to learn that. And so yeah, so I guess we'll get to that part of the junction in a quick
Yep.
second. Yep.
So, got with your did you start your doctorate from there as well
Yeah, so
with the
at
Howard?
this time, I'm married, youngly married. I got two small kids. Moved
Hmm.
the family from Southern Virginia to DC to start this doctoral program. Um, And to be honest with you, I washed out in a year.
Mm,
Um, I washed out in a year. I could not hack it. And when I say I could not hack it, I had a full-time job.
mhm.
To move to DC, I needed a full-time job. I got two kids and a wife. So I
Yeah,
get a job teaching, actually leading a media production program at a local high school in DC.
okay.
So I'm doing that by day and building this program, right? And I don't know pedagogy. And so I got to figure out pedagogy, how to do lesson plannings for kids around this thing that I've practiced and know how to do.
Mhm.
So that was a very challenging, like first career job outside of my comfort zone.
Yep.
So simultaneously, I'm trying to do my doctoral program at night at Howard. And but when I don't have to. I just can't. I couldn't do both things. So 1 year I watched out of Howard.
Yep.
Look, it was okay. It was part of the process because now I'm getting the real instruction of education on the ground. I'm
Of
in
course.
DC public schools and I'm learning every day, boots on the ground, what education is, what it needs to be, and what it ain't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning. I'm talking to families. I'm writing curriculum. I'm developing program. I'm making everything that you would have to do to understand a system over the next 5 years. That's what we did. We built a dynamic program. We sent kids to colleges all across the country that
Okay.
still practice today. And so we did a great job, but it was a lot of work. Uh, I wouldn't go back to my doctorate program for another 10 years.
Yeah, I can once you in that groove and you
Yeah.
talk about going back and you like you said, you got a family and you raising your people and you it's hard to go back to school. When you're basically in I like to say when you teaching anyway, like you're in school, you're learning new things and coming along the way with your kids and whatnot. It's just hard to go back and study while you're an educator. So I can understand that for sure.
I had
Um,
there was one night, where we had a little old house that we were renting, and it was we didn't have an office space, so I would go in the bathroom. We had one bathroom. I would go in the bathroom and put my books on the sink and sit on the toilet and try to do my homework so I wouldn't disturb the kids and the wife while they were sleeping.
yeah.
And then the day I knew I had to leave was I woke up in the morning with nothing tight in the bathroom. I hadn't even gotten into bed all night. I said, "You know what?
Wow.
It's time to pump your brakes."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy sacrifice right there. So eventually you get to your doctorate, right? You go through that period, you get your doctorate,
Yeah.
you somewhere along the way, you're publishing stuff, you're writing books, right?
So whenever somebody goes to a doctoral program, everyone hears the same thing. You
Yeah.
should turn your dissertation into a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should turn right? You heard it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So this is what I did. I took my dissertation basically studied what were the student engagement components that cause urban African American students to engage or disengage from school.
Now,
And we
why'd you
looked at
want to do that? Why'd you want to study that?
Yeah, great question. So once I got into that high school in DC, I spent the next 20 years in urban, alternative, and non-traditional teaching spaces.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I've taught
sir.
in maximum
Mm,
security prisons.
mm.
I've worked in juvenile detention centers. I've worked in alternative schools in the community and large urban schools, right? That's
Okay.
all I've taught in.
Yep.
And the one thing that is common to every school I've ever been in is student success and student achievement only comes through engagement. If you
Hmm.
can get a student to engage with you as an instructor, you're halfway there. And if you can get them to engage with the content, you're going to get there all the way, 100% of the time. Maximum security prison or middle school in the suburbia, doesn't
Hmm.
matter.
Hmm.
And so I was interested in learning what are those triggers for our young, mostly marginalized students,
Okay.
historically marginalized students. What are those things academically, interpersonally, and environmental that
Okay.
causes you to engage with school or disengage with school? And that was the crux of my research.
Well, we going listen, that's a age-old question that we need to know the answer to as an
Yeah,
assistant superintendent right now who is in charge of alternative
yeah.
schools. When we have this concern, talk to me. Give me
Yeah.
give me the knowledge
So
I
so
need.
this is what I found out. Relationships matter over everything.
Yeah.
This will come you but let me preface this. I don't know if I discovered anything that's going to be brand new.
Right.
It's
Right.
reaffirming what we know and how we
Reaffirming.
can stand
Like
on
that.
it as practice, right?
Yep.
The primary factor if a student is going to engage is their relationship with education and learning. That
Hmm.
first starts in the home because families dictate how students perceive and receive education. You
Okay.
know this as an educator, some of your students come to you fully ready to learn as an
Yep.
expectation from their family. Other students come to you with the full intent to disrupt education because that is the expectation from their family. But the biggest mitigating factor is not the relationship that the families have about education. It's the relationship between teacher and student.
Okay.
If teachers and students can get on the same relational page, you see this in coaching all the time. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why players play hard most of the times for the coach,
Mm-hmm.
right?
They won't let that coach down. They don't want to let
And
people
they
down.
will not let that coach down, right?
Right.
Students are the same way. We can look at theories like attachment theory and proximity theory that says that the closer a relationship is, the more competency and efficacy students feel. That's fact. The second most important mitigating fact is belief, because belief leads to your pedagogical approaches and your instructional practices. We have different thresholds of belief for students, regardless of what we say as educators. And when you start talking about alternative students or urban students or poor students, you see
Mm-hmm.
those expectations start to slide. So
Mm-hmm.
students only engage at the level in which we solicit their engagement. What do you believe? Is your instruction rigorous enough for students to engage with it, or do they know that you're feeding them some low-hanging fruit?
I would say, how do we how do you combat, or how do you, discuss this level of engagement with teachers who feel that, listen, I'm a math teacher in a high school. I teach geometry. I see 8 periods a day, for 45 minutes. And I got student A, student B. Man, I'm just here trying to get them content. I don't have time to build a relationship
Yeah,
with
yeah.
these students and get to know them like that. I just want you to sit in your seat and learn tangent and cosine, right? How do you combat that?
Hey, as an educator who's had 40 students on a roster, 250 over the course of 2 days, I get it. You're not
Yeah,
going to have the same relationship with every student, but sometimes it's just a matter of showing that you care about them and that you're available to them,
yeah.
being a human being, being authentic in who you are. That causes students in their brain, the brain side says to relax,
Mm,
to
mm,
relax so that they can receive instruction. So if you can't look, you can every teacher can stand by their door at bell change. I don't care if 100 people pass you by. You've seen the viral videos of the teachers who got the unique handshakes
yeah,
for every
the
student,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Yep.
Whatever they do, right? That's engagement. That's how
Mhm,
you build relationships if you got a lot of kids. Look, the school year is long. There are
mhm.
180 teaching days. Do you got 180 students? Well, pick a day for every student.
Right,
The word
right.
gets out, and then you could eventually you'll better live on reputation as a caring, real teacher.
There's something in it to where, you know how it's like people just know, like,
Yes.
I have had a lot of educators, right, just being a principal and seeing teachers come in and come out, especially young teachers and whatnot. And certain people have presence that just provide an aura, and you could be in an interview, be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got it.
that
You know what
you
it
coming,
is?
you coming.
Hey, Tyrone, I think that aura is authenticity. Students do not care who you are
Yeah,
or what kind of person you are. I've seen it. You could be old, you could be young, you could be black, you could be white. They don't
right,
care. They
right.
want to know that you're going to be authentic and consistent. You do
Mm,
those things, they'll buy
consistent.
into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the title of the book?
The book is Unlocking Student Engagement Insights for Urban, Alternative, and Non-Traditional Educators. And it really just takes us through these 5 key windows to look through. It's a book of reflection. It's not a strategy book. Let me tell you why. If you
Okay.
go on Amazon,
Yep.
there are a billion strategy books. This is
Yep.
a gut check reflection book.
Okay.
What how can you improve your relationships? What is the real status of your relationships with your learners? What do you truly believe? Relevance is the third window we look through. Is your instruction relevant? Like you mentioned earlier, I'm teaching geometry. I need you to figure out these tangents and these
Yep.
cosines. I
Yep.
don't really have time for relationship. Well, how can you make geometry relevant? If you don't make geometry relevant, and every subject must be relevant, it must be relevant socially. Like, how does this play out in the world? And how can
Mhm.
I use it to make money? Let's get real.
Yeah,
Education is supposed to be taking us
gotta click.
somewhere.
Right. Right. So let's go back for a second.
Yes, sir.
The book, you said it has 5?
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna try to do them. I'm gonna do all 5.
Okay.
Relationships,
Yep.
pedagogy and belief,
Yep.
relevance, context. You have to understand students' background and context. Where are they coming from?
Okay.
That's important. And the last one is environment. And I look at the environment at three different levels. I look at it as place, space, and location.
Okay.
Location being the geographic origins of Atlanta, Connecticut, Baltimore, right? Because all of those places have historical connections to education. You can't separate education from the place. And then there's the place, which is the school building itself. Every school has culture and every school sits inside of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And those two stories are connected. And then the last one is the space. The space is the actual classroom where teachers have the most influence over this whole engagement spectrum.
Yeah.
And what can an educator do at all three places? As a superintendent, you know, because you deal with it at the location and locale level, at the different school levels, but then you can go in any classroom in your district and see different culture, different engagement levels, and different climate.
And to talk about that from the lens of going into classrooms, particularly when you talk about an elementary classroom to a
Mhm.
middle and a high school classroom and what that environment is like and what people put into what I say sweat equity into their environment for their students or just for themselves. Like I walk into my room and my walls are barren. There's nothing on them. It looks like I hate to say it, a prison cell or something
Yep.
like that. And then you walk into some rooms and there's a plant, there's pictures, there's my anchor chart, there's things that remind my students I'm a normal person, right? We sit down, it's relaxing. And I find it sometimes harder for middle and high school teachers to set up that standard the way an elementary teacher does.
Yeah, you know why? They forget to have fun.
Yeah.
Like elementary is still fun, right? And you see the bright colors, you see the
Hmm.
charts on the
Hmm.
wall, you see the pictures, and then at some point we say, "Oh, this is serious work now."
Right. Right. I'm
I,
hearing
I
that
don't.
we getting down to business and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Where can we find your book at though?
So the book can be found anywhere you buy books. It's online. Just if you type in "unlocking student engagement," you can buy it from your favorite bookstore. But you can also purchase it from my website directly, beyondthemarginsllc.com. So either way, and you can buy the book. And so there are other things coming beyond the book, but right now what we're really doing is pushing the book, making sure people can look at it as a reflective tool, and it can enhance any practice. I don't care if you're
I
a
was gonna
veteran.
say, does it have to be for alternative school teachers, or we could just this is a book for every teacher?
It's truly a book for every teacher. I like to think of it like this. Every book has to be written to somebody. Every letter has to be written to somebody. And so my lens, because of my background, has been in urban alternative and non-traditional spaces. And as you know, that's not one of the spaces where literature is developed specifically around. We're usually augmenting something that's for traditional education for alternative spaces. So this is a nod to people who do difficult work, and this is something for us in our community. Although good instruction is good instruction. Good practice is good practice. It works anywhere. It works anywhere in the world with any aged student. It does not
Mm,
matter.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, you also have a podcast and called Beyond the Margins. Now, is Beyond the Margins just the name of your podcast, or is that like a bigger movement
Yeah.
of publishing rights and stuff like that?
Yeah, so Beyond the Margins is an education consultant and and a strategy firm. What we
Okay.
do is we partner with communities, schools, school districts to design unique solutions for their educational challenges, right?
Okay.
And specifically, we want to work with people who have been outside of the traditional lens of education.
Okay.
It this We work with communities, we work with people writing curriculum for programming, summer or academic, in development with a bridge program to study abroad in China. So we're looking to develop opportunities for marginalized learners to advance themselves. We believe strongly in the 4E philosophy. We believe in engaging people where they are, honestly and truthfully. We provide education, which is the second E, and
Yep.
education looks different. It's not always the same thing. It's not always, multiplication and division. Sometimes education is directing people to resources
Mm-hmm.
so that we can empower them to change their life trajectory to whatever that is for them. I don't know what you should be or need to be, but if I educate you and engage you in such a way that you can empower yourself to your next thing. And
All
by
right.
doing so, our fourth E is we believe that we will elevate individuals, families, and communities in that order. So that's the
Well,
4E philosophy behind Beyond the
man,
Margins.
I love that so much. I love that so much because how you broke that down to get to those four E's, brother, I just appreciate that so much. You just don't understand. When you see, because I believe right now, being in education for the last 28 years, just as an educator, but of course, former years of that, 25 years was a student, right? In all kind of ways and in different ways. Schools, the way schools do now, right? Like traditional learning, not even just sitting in a classroom with rows and all that, but how we do schools 5 days a week, teacher in front. Even if we try to do some cooperative learning or small group instruction, I still think we're behind, right? With how we should be doing school with so much technology and advances and stuff like that. What do you see doing the work that you do when it comes to how school is done?
Yeah. Listen, we are now out of the information age. We're in the AI age, right? And so the school systems, especially in Black and brown communities and underserved communities, are products of the industrial revolution, the industrial age. So you got the industrial age that ended in the 1950s.
And we
The schools
still,
that kids went to
no,
today are still
yep,
operating from that model. We didn't even make the leap into the information age.
right.
And then we talking about we are in the AI age. So what needs to be done? We have to see, first of all, what is your belief about education? Is education an existential need for marginalized people? I believe it is. I
Hmm.
believe it's the one way that this country is going to find its full footing, and people who have historically been marginalized are going to find any footing. So
Right.
if that's the case, can we afford to not build better systems? We build better war machines. We
Yep.
build better prisons. We
Yep.
build better cars. We build better houses. We
Hmm.
make better clothes. We look. I have one of these thermoses. I could
Oh
put
my
ice in
gosh.
here. It'll
Those
be cold
things,
in
it
four
won't melt
days.
for
Right,
2 days, right? It won't
right,
melt
right,
for
right.
2 days. Yep.
So we can improve anything that we want to improve. We have to build our own educational systems where the ones that won't work and won't be fixed won't be fixed. We'll just have to build new systems. And what does that look like? And so a lot of times people say, well, public education is the place. If it is willing to change, if it is willing to progress. If not, we got to get the Mary Bethune Cloud mentality. Let's go
Mm,
to the and sit on crates and do it for self. That's
yeah.
that's what I believe because this is existential. If they didn't help us make the last leap, what's to help us make this leap? They talk about the gap, whether it be the achievement gap or the
Yeah.
economic gap or the widening, right? What are we going to do to tether them back together?
Yeah. I mean,
What
it's hard because schools play a big part in politics, right? Because of how we're funded, particularly as public schools. You're funded in a way where you can't do much with changing things, and then you're governed in a way where even that, if you wanted to do something like, well, we want to go a 4-day week with a PD day on Friday, or we want to have every Wednesday half day so we could train our teachers, or we want to follow this model of school where they're not having standardized assessments all the time, right? Because then it's like, well, what's the measure of accountability and all those things, and all those nifty kind of ideas of moving forward always get shot down, it
Yeah.
seems.
No, you're right. Be because true education disturbs the status quo.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
like
so,
that.
right. The true question is how do we maneuver around the political jockeying of existential work? And
Mm.
so, in many places, there are frameworks for charter schools. Maybe it's charter schools. Maybe it's, we have a lot of successful people who've come from lots of different communities now in the world. Maybe it's time to build out um, endowments
Okay.
for cities to develop needs based schools. I'm not saying all public schools aren't failing.
Right.
All
No,
charter
you're
schools
right.
aren't failing,
Right.
right? I'm talking about how do we create or augment schools that have underserved our students? Maybe they need additional supports.
Right.
Maybe those supports community schools, true community schools, right? Not just if a municipality has allowed a school to die and depreciate and be devalued over generations,
Hmm.
they're no longer qualified to talk about its future. At some point, they become this. There's some school districts in this country that are teetering on child abuse, child neglect, and malpractice.
Just from how they've been ran for so long, and somebody needs to step in. And so that's what I mean with the politics of it. Some get taken over by the state. Some their boards say, okay, we're going to move in this direction in X, Y, Z. But a lot of times, the people who are at on the forefronts, right? The people who are on the front lines, so to speak, the principals, the teachers, they don't get to make those choices a lot of the times. And so sometimes we're only dealing with what we've been given because certain people want to either keep things traditionally the same or don't want to see something change.
Yeah, I think we're in the realm of every educator must see themselves as a change agent and leader.
Hmm.
For instance, if you work in a district and you know your social studies curriculum is woefully underserving your students, there is an incumbent responsibility on you as a social studies teacher and your colleagues to never stop until it's addressed.
Mm.
Our work is far beyond delivering the lessons and ensure that the lessons that should be taught are being taught. That's as important. So educators, I think if it's going to change, Tyrone, educators are going to have to move into the space of advocates.
Yeah,
We
I got
cannot hide out in our classrooms if we want change. Leaders, executive level leaders, school level leaders are going to have to be willing to risk the biscuit, as they say.
I
But
like
you know,
I like that because I'm one of those people. Put the pressure on me. So I'm asking a question, right? Like I'm an assistant superintendent, so it's like being at that level to where I can advocate for certain things to be a certain way. I'm there, right? Like I'm in a position where I'm like, listen, all of our schools, we got to move towards this. We got to have student voice. We got to focus on X, Y, and Z. We got to make sure we got these things that I think or that I know are beneficial to 6 through 12 students in our district. It's a great position to be in, but it's not always easy for people to get on board. But yeah, challenge me for sure.
yeah. So here's the thing, and this is kind of where we all have to do this. What if we are the only thing standing in the gap of that young person becoming you or I? And I heard a principal one time say to a staff, I was on the staff, the principal says, yeah, we're going to advocate, we're going to go to headquarters, we're going to demand what we need for our students. And then he says, right after it, but not so much because I got 2 kids I got to send to college. My message is this: you can't be a liberator, you can't be an agitator, you can't be a change agent until it gets warm, because that's the only point of change right there. And it's not adversarial, it's existential work. If it's missing, what do we want for our kids? We can't just look, brother, people like you and I, we can go and supplement our kids' education, either
Hmm.
by the knowledge you've accumulated through your life
Right.
as an educated Black man, or what I've learned, I can supplement my kids' life.
Yep.
But that's not our calling. If that were the case, we wouldn't need to be in education. We just take care of our kids. It's so that we can stand and shine light on it. You the, our education in this country as Black people has always been negotiable.
Mm.
As brown people, as
Mm.
poor people, as urban people, as rural people, it's always been negotiable. At some point, we have to draw a line in the sand that says we will not give you another generation of kids that you call negotiable.
Right.
We we we, we if we wait for permission, it never comes. The system is working according to plan. We have to disturb the status quo.
Yeah, I like that. Disturbing the status quo for sure. What are you doing? Because I didn't even get into your position. So you got beyond the margins in your consultant firm, and you doing that. We're gonna talk about the podcast in a second. But your everyday stuff, your
Yeah.
teaching that you do now, tell
Yeah.
us, what are you doing now?
Yeah. So I like to say I have a 9 to 5, and then I do beyond the margins all the other hours. So I work for the state of Maryland in the Department of Juvenile Services Education Program
Mm,
as the director of student transitions. So
okay.
one thing we know about juveniles and recidivism is if juveniles do not, and I hate using the word juveniles, I much prefer the word young people or students in the case of an educator. Uh, but in the case for this discussion, I'll use juveniles. If juveniles do not know what their next vocational career educational opportunity is upon
Hmm.
release from a juvenile detention facility or a commitment facility, their chance of recidivism skyrockets. They're coming back. So we lose a lot of students. Let's say a young person comes into detention and they get their life together. They want to make a change. If we don't transition them well, then they'll be right back or worse. So
Understand. Yeah.
my job is to make sure that young people land well once they transition back into the community, especially for those students who often aren't thought about. For instance, if a person is a 10th grader transition back home, we know they supposed to go back to school, 10th grade. But what if a person is a graduate? They graduated while they're with us. They got a GED or traditional diploma
Yep.
while they're
They got to
with
go back
us.
into the, yeah.
Now we just put them out and say good luck. So that's one of the transition pieces that is falling into my wheelhouse that I'm building framework and processes around to make sure we don't lose anybody in the terms, and have them recidivate because we didn't connect them to the
Yeah.
next thing that would keep
So
them
you
home.
you big in the community too, right? You're helping bridge those gaps so that when kids come out, they set up with the job, or they going back to school, or they have a career path. Is it focused on something that they're into, right? Like, do you find out what their interest is and try to hook them up that way?
Three in my book, the only way to unlock student engagement is relevance.
Okay.
Relevance. If it's irrelevant, they checking out. If it's irrelevant for you or me, we check out, right?
Right.
So yes, it has to be a student built, student design plan. And the approach that I have is called the now and later approach. You're
Okay.
familiar with now and later candies,
Of
right?
course.
Of course. So we have a now and later plan. Young people need a plan for now, something that they can put their tangible hands on the day they walk out of a facility,
Yes,
be it a
sir.
job or a program, or finish your GED, or whatever that very next thing is. But those things are often not sustainable. We don't
Hmm.
want them working at the Checkers 10 years from now.
Right.
Yes, I want you working at Checkers next week,
Yeah,
but
that's a
but
job.
2
That's
years from
fine.
now,
Yep.
I may not want you still at Checkers. So now we also need to create a later plan, which is a longer, more protracted, extended plan. Things that's going to take a little time that you're going
Okay.
to have to work on 1 month, 3 months at a time. If
Yep.
you want a associate's degree or you want a certification in automotives, that's going to be your later plan, right?
Hmm.
What are you going to do that's going to get you to there? Because a lot of young people, they know they want to work in HVAC. They know they want their
They doing. Yep.
CDLs, right?
Yep.
But what am I going to do between now and getting the CDL? That's where they
Yeah.
get in trouble. So
Right.
we need a now plan that'll keep you out of trouble, incubate you while you're working on your longer plan that it's going to make you gainfully employed.
So, man, I love the position that you're in. What I want to know is, how do kids get, what do you see as the prelude for them to even be in trouble to get to that point? Like, right, what hit those students that they weren't getting in high school, um, where they fell apart and they got themselves in trouble to end up in that situation to begin with?
Yeah, that's a very salient point. The same way we address self, family, community through
Yeah.
engagement, education, empowerment, elevation, how it gets there is the inverse, right? No one engages them around how they should be educated and behave in a community. That's part of education, how you behave in a community so that you don't get arrested. No one empowered them to let them know that, hey, look, your current condition is not your permanent situation, no matter how bad it is. There is a tomorrow. Look at me, look at him, look at them. right? That's empowerment for a young person. They don't see it, they can't be it. And no one sheltered them long enough to elevate them to the next thing, whether that's third grade reading to fourth grade reading,
Yeah.
or from middle school to make sure that they're safely matriculated into a ninth grade academy.
So
So what
we
brings it to it is the multifaceted breakdown of society, family, and we've all read Lord of the Flies. If you
yeah,
leave the kids alone, Piggy dies every time.
right.
Yeah,
Right. So on that, the reason why I asked that is because in my work, I deal with students, anybody who's about to get expelled, right? High risk kids, they do something, we give them a second chance called a stipulated agreement. And at the high school level, what I see is I sit down with each student, each family, because they got to come with their parent. Sometimes I have the counselor or the assistant principal there. And we have a conversation about what they're into, right? So if they brought drugs into school or they had a knife in school or whatever, and we giving them a second chance. It's like, hey, what are you into? And what I'm seeing is that the kids that are part of our academy structure, which has them along a path in their particular high school, because we got one high school in the district, we got alternative settings, but one big high school. The kids who are on a path of an academy model, I don't see them. I don't see them. They see their future. I
yes,
see the kids who are not part of the academy 95% of the time. I've been doing the data for the last 2.5 years that these are our students. So I have our administrators and our counselors reading a book right now called The Disengaged Teen. And just to get them on that path of, we got to figure out pathways for everybody in our building. And we got to stay on top of them to notice what those four attributes are for teens in their different modes that they're in so that we can help support them more. But that's the book study of the summer right now, The Disengaged Teen, as a like just a focus so we can keep our kids engaged. Because you must have said engaged about 50 times during this interview so far.
that's it.
But I see it.
Hey, listen, they're always engaged in something. I laugh every time I hear about the COVID learning loss. I
Hmm.
say, nah, it wasn't no COVID learning loss. You just didn't get to teach what you wanted to teach. They
Hmm.
were learning.
Right.
They
Something.
every day they didn't lose no learning. They didn't learn what you wanted them to learn.
Right.
But here's the thing: self-determination theory. It says that people self-actualize and become more efficacious when three things happen. They're given autonomy to choose. So while you write in this second chance covenant with the students, it
Hmm.
gives them buy-in because they get input. And so that helps them with their self-determination because you gave them autonomy. Competence. Am I able to do it? Do I have the skills, resources, know how to get a thing done, or do I know how to ask for help? But the long one, the last one is relatedness. When people feel like they belong to something,
Hmm.
that's why athletes don't get in trouble during the season.
Right. I
That's
was
why
that I was that kid. I was that
yeah,
kid that football season, I was straight.
you
My
straight,
son, basketball season, he was good.
good,
Was over. It's like, oh,
over,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
you're untethered to anything, right?
Hmm.
That's why you said kids who are in these academies and pathways or
Yeah,
career tech pathways, right?
yeah.
Once they belong to that pathway, this is what
Hmm.
we do.
Hmm.
This is what we do. They become attached to something. We all need belonging so we understand what is the expectation of the group. If you don't have belonging, there are no expectations. You get to create your own expectations, which is chaos. Right. So if we want young people to be self-determined, and I think that's what we want as educators, for young people to be self-determined, then we have to give them buy-in through autonomy, let them decide some of this stuff. We have to give them the resources or the comfort to ask for the support they need through competency. And we also have to show them and let them. That's why affinity groups work so well
Yeah.
because it instantly creates belonging and people stay attached to things that they belong to.
Now, what I want to know is, or what I want you to let the people know is, if they are interested in your knowledge and your consultancy with Beyond the Margins, where do you work out of? Is it just the area that you're in? Are you nationwide? How do we get in touch with you?
We're global, baby. Nah,
Okay. Okay.
we're anywhere. Listen, literally anywhere. Um, I will work with anybody who's looking to make change in themselves, in their team, in their practice, or in their community. Um, In November, I'm traveling to Dominican Republic to do this work.
Get out of
I'll
here.
be in Newark next week. I'll be down in Newport News later this summer. With virtual meetings, we could connect virtually. We can connect face to face. Just reach out to me. I'd love to hear
Okay.
from you. Again, Beyond the Margins LLC, Beyond the Margins with the S, LLC.com. Connect with me. I do believe that solutions are possible.
Yep.
Solutions are right there. And many of the solutions are really about mindset. It's really about gut check because people can do hard things. People can do hard things, and we can definitely do hard things together. We have the mindset to get it done.
And so we getting towards the end of this. I can talk to you for, a gang of time, and you and I have another uh
Yeah,
meeting set up for
we'll,
sure.
we'll do this again
Um
soon.
you got to do your top 5. This is the portion where we get to your
Okay.
top 5
All
TV
right.
shows or movies about school. You got
Uh-huh.
to start with number 5 and work your
Okay.
way up to number 1. And
Okay.
please give us a small little snippet on why you chose that, because there's a lot of them out there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I'll let you start with number 5.
All right. Number 5, the 1980s TV classic Head of the Class.
Okay.
You
All
remember
right.
Head of the
I
Class?
remember Head of the Class. I
All
got
right,
you.
so here's a little synopsis of Head of the Class for those who don't know. It is a New York City magnet program, and they have all of these super smart kids in the
Yep.
class. And every kid in the class has like a different expertise. Um, Robin Givens
Kids.
is the
Okay, yep.
sister in the
Oh my
class, right?
God. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And somebody like the cool kid in the class, he has a leather jacket and sunglasses. He just knows pop culture, and that's his thing. And they get this teacher, they get this substitute teacher who comes in who tries to teach them, and they rebuff him because they know their thing. They're
Yep.
all like little geniuses. And so I used to love that show because it showed me that you could be yourself in a classroom. You could
Yep.
bring your own genius, your personal expertise to a classroom. And I
That
love that.
that wasn't on long, but I know what you're talking about. A lot
Yeah,
of shows didn't last that long, but had that kind of impact. What's
yeah.
number 4?
All right, number 4, there's a documentary called Subnormal, a
Okay.
British Scandal.
Never heard of that. Talk to me.
It's a documentary about West Indian people, primarily Jamaicans,
Yep.
who went to the UK as a part of their Reformation and rebuilding campaign, I believe, after the Second World War, where they get that influx of the Jamaican population. And educational system in the UK were classifying Black people from Jamaica as educationally subnormal as a pattern to restrict them from access to regular education. And that documentary really moved me because we still do a lot of that today, but it's just more covert and subtle and in different ways. But
Yeah.
it was a very overt practice, and it I think it damaged many, many Caribbean people in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, I do believe.
I think whenever you have a group of people coming in from another country that don't speak the language, they kind of get grouped into that kind of like, oh, they need this type of support, or they can't have access to this because they don't know the language, when in actuality, in their own language, they can run rings around other folks.
We see it right now with our Hispanic population. If you go to some schools, they'll put the multilingual learners in a corner in the back of the building like they are intellectually deficient. When and that's one of the things the documentary pointed out. They use things like standardized testing, and they show a kid a kid a
It's
picture of like
biased. It's biased.
right of a
Yeah.
faucet
Yeah.
and or a tap, what we might
Yep.
call a faucet or a tap, but in Jamaica they call that thing a pipe.
Yep.
So the kid says that's a pipe, and
Yep.
they say, "Oh, you failed the
You got
test.
it wrong. Right.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
mentally subnormal.
Yep.
You got them all wrong. This kid doesn't know anything."
Right.
Really, that's a linguistic opportunity for learning. What are you talking
All
about?
it is. It's
All
difference.
it
You
is.
know what difference is. Difference is scary for folks, so they don't like it. All right. What's number 3?
Number 3. So I got an A and B because to me, these two movies are the same
Here
movie.
we go.
All
Okay.
right, these two movies are the same movie. It's a movie called Hard Lessons by Denzel Washington, 1986. Check
Get
it
out
out.
of here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hard Lessons, but it's just another version of Lean on Me.
Okay.
All right,
It's
they're
a
the same
wait,
movie.
but Morgan Freeman, Denzel, I don't get me wrong, Morgan did his thing in that movie, but it's the same kind of concept?
So Lean on Me is a better production as a media snob, right? As a production
Yep.
snob,
Okay.
better production. It's early Denzel. It's like beta tape shot. I don't know, but it's just a different production level. But the story
Okay.
is the same story about a principal who's committed to changing the worst school around through all of its challenges, busing students out who are afraid to come to their own school.
Yep.
It's the same story, just different cities.
Got it. And so
Yeah.
that's considering Lean on Me, it's kind of low on your list, right?
Yeah.
Considering where it's on other people's list. So what do you got for number two?
So number two is one of the shows that influenced a generation, A Different World.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
Different World was a peek inside for all of us.
Yes.
Like again, I grew up around HBCU culture,
Yep.
but I guess when it hit in middle school, I could see it was on the horizon for me. It felt like right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think a lot of us felt like, hey, this is for us. So, and it was weekly. We saw it a lot, and so
Yeah.
right in our face. And then it showed us a continuum too. It showed us how successful black family, the Huxtables, a husband and
Right.
a wife committed
Came
to
on right after the Cosbys. Yep.
right, could then produce children who go on to not only marry a pilot like the oldest daughter did, but go to college and have a whole college experience where there are other people who come in to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
it was a very, watershed moment, I think, for me.
Okay. And it wasn't, empty of its issues that you didn't have to come up in that society to experience, right? Like there were certain things around there that you was like, oh, I could still relate to that, even if I didn't grow up in that culture, but I can
Absolutely.
aspire for my family to be that way as well.
Right, right.
So
And
I,
then
I agree.
there was a rumor like every episode had a different scene from a different black college. And I was like trying to figure that out. Like, what college
Yeah,
might that be?
what's
Yeah.
happening with that? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
What's happening with that? Yeah. And
All
so
right, so number one. Yep.
number one, higher learning. Higher
Ooh.
learning.
Now that's the first time that this movie has made it on anybody's list that I've interviewed so far. But I
Yeah.
got and Higher Learning was impactful for sure. John Singleton,
Yes.
Busta Rhymes, Ice Cube,
Yes.
Rappaport. Talk to me about that one. Why?
Tire Bite sitting on the track, talking to Omar Epps.
Hmm.
I said, yeah, I'm kind of Omar S. Omar S. I can, maybe get me a
Yeah,
tire if I go. It was a new experience. It looked at like a total picture of a campus. There were different kind of students on, like, okay, A Different World.
yep,
Everybody kind of felt the same.
right.
Like, like they're all college kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This show, like, okay, you could be a little rough, and like everybody might not get along. They different kinds of black people on this camp. You got and like it was kind of like School Days, but it
Yeah.
felt more contemporary for my '90s mind. And so the whole John Singleton character being this deep intellectual, like that played with me. Like I want to be him. Like I
The
want to get to
the
where he is.
the roommate situation was something I
Very,
think if you lived on campus, you kind of if you ever had that situation where your roommate wasn't your boy, right? You ain't get to go to school with somebody and you had like, oh, this is a roommate. Cause I know while I went to an HBCU and I had a roommate who was in a band while I was whatever, and he was a black tall guy. I mean, we got along, but my son, his first year at UConn, he had a different roommate, and it reminded me of that a little bit.
yeah. That's perfect. Um, it gave you a true image of a campus a little bit,
Yeah,
not just a HBCU, so to speak.
yeah.
My freshman year in college at Liberty University, it was me, a little '90s hip hop black dude with a bald head,
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
Timbs. It was like September, and I'm dragging my Timbs, right? And there was my roommate had two roommates, uh, an alternative acoustic guitar white guy from Pennsylvania. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like a hippie. He used to wear flip
Yep.
flops and play his guitar in the grass, right? And his name was Buzz. And then I had a Mexican roommate from Texas named Gary.
Wow.
So it was like we joked and we talked and we learned so much from each
About
other.
each other,
We
yeah.
said, "Do you think they intended to do one of each?" Like, but
Like put a little bit of everything in that, like
yeah,
mix them
yeah, yeah.
together. They might have. They
And we
might have.
set up. I promise you, we set up so many nights asking each other questions, talking about beliefs and background and stereotypes.
Man.
We fed each other, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience just having those two guys as roommates, sharing space, seeing the difference in how people live. It was a great learning experience.
And so higher learning didn't necessarily end the way that your experience did over here, but higher learning was obviously impactful for you as a movie. So
Yeah, it
that's,
was. It was. It was one of the things that just kind of settled into me. I don't know if it was a soundtrack. I don't know if it
yeah,
was like where I was in my life, but it's one of those movies when I look back, like I think that helped me decide on my trajectory. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you for sharing your top five. Definitely a memorable top five just for what you got in there. Very diverse mix up. I gotta check out what was your number two again? The one for
Yeah.
Jamaican
Subnormal, a British
subnormal.
scandal. Yeah. A
Yep. And
British
then the one that Denzel was in,
hard lessons.
Hard
Hard lessons.
Lessons. Okay,
I think
those are
hard
two that
lessons
I
is
haven't
on
seen.
Netflix. Maybe try Netflix.
Okay, no, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. I got a stick.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
find
You
anything.
can find it.
But what we got set up over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Dr. Butts, for coming on. It's been a great conversation. We really appreciate you. One more time for your website.
Yeah, Beyond the Margins. BEYONDTHEMARGINS LLC.com. Yep.
So thank you very much for coming on, my brother.
Hey, Tyrone, thanks for having me. Thank you for the work you're doing with Teach One Podcast and bringing educators together to talk about the work.
Wait,
Thank you.
wait. So time out, time out. And I ain't even gonna stop this. We're gonna keep this going.
All right.
Man, listen, I ain't even talk about the podcast. Your podcast has been hitting lately, and you've been bringing on talk about your podcast real quick.
Yeah. So Beyond the Margins, the podcast is a platform for me to talk about educators on different ways that we can increase student engagement and get the maximum out of education. We launched season 1 back on the first week of March, and so far we've had 16 episodes roll out. We've talked about everything from prison education to literacy to does love and care have a place in the classroom, to how do you build effective leaders. We've touched everything. We touched on mental health and wellness, and we're excited about what's to come, man. You can
And
check
where
it
can
out
we
on
find
any
you?
platform,
Any
YouTube.
platform, okay.
Yeah, YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's anywhere.
What's been your favorite? And because I don't want to cut the podcast short, right? This is obviously something that we do. What's been your favorite episode so far? Or can you say that?
Ooh,
Or
hey
topic?
man. No, I can't. I cannot say what my. I've interviewed my mom, who's a career educator.
Word, that's
I've
dope.
interviewed my mentor, who was my high school English teacher.
Yep.
Uh, but I would say I've enjoyed all my guests. Um, I say the one that stands out is episode 10. I'm having a conversation with Miss Corinne Conover from Newark Public School, who is a
Hmm.
warrior advocate about curriculum reform.
Yep.
Um, that sister laid down some things that everyone should listen to.
Okay, season 1, episode 10.
Episode 10, season 1, episode 10. I think I'm drawing a blank on the
That's all
title.
right.
Corinne Conover is the guest.
Okay.
Yeah, listen to that one first, then go back and listen to the rest.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, I appreciate you, my brother. We will be checking out your podcast. We'll hit you up on your website. I'm hoping to be a guest on your podcast as well. I don't know what season or
absolutely.
episode that's going to fall in, but look for
Absolutely.
that soon.
Hey, look, we're gonna get you in season 1 before we wrap season 1 because my audience needs to hear from you. And so we're gonna get it done sooner than later, brother.
Well, thanks again, man.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Yep. So that's it. That's a wrap on this episode of the Teach One podcast. But I do have some homework for you. You got to subscribe, you got to like, you got to share with your teaching besties, and then comment on your favorite takeaways. That's your homework. Seriously, thanks for tuning in and being part of this amazing community of educators. Keep inspiring, keep growing, and remember you're teaching one student at a time and making all the difference. So see you on the next episode.